Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of those characters you got to listen to. I mean, very intelligent, I would say, from the world perspective of intelligence. But there's some things he says about God that is like, what? Is he out of his mind or what? Anyway, we're going to listen to this video and I'll share some thoughts along the way. I'm going to keep my comment really short and I'll find a Bible verse, I guess, at the end. I haven't seen this, so this is completely, I'm coming off not knowing what to expect here. So the title of this one is There a God? Piers Morgan Grill astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. Let's get to the video.
I'm talking to arguably the most popular scientist in the universe ever, Professor Neil deGrasse Tyson, whose new book, just to do a bit of media sensationalism there, Neil, his new book, To Infinity and Beyond, is out this month. It's absolutely riveting. You write about this stuff so brilliantly. You bring it all so alive. I want to go into a few things. But first of all, the key question for me with all this, especially when I was reading your book, how much do you think we know and how much do you think we don't know about what's out there?
That's a great question. And I can actually quantify that answer. So there are these things, there's dark matter you might have heard about. So dark matter is 85%, it's responsible for 85% of the gravity in the universe. And we have no idea what it is, but we can measure it. There's dark energy responsible for the accelerated expansion of the universe. We can measure that, but we don't know what's causing it. And then you add up all of these sort of what these forces are doing in the universe, it's 96% of what's driving the universe. And all the forces of nature that we know and love, gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces, life, chemistry, biology, physics, that's in 4% of the universe. So we know enough about the universe to quantify our ignorance. So we know 4% of what's going on out there. But also keep in mind that as the area of our knowledge grows, so too does the perimeter of our ignorance. And that is the very soul of science. That there are questions, people say, what questions do you want answered? Yeah, I don't think that way. I think, what question do I not even yet know to ask?
I think that's the really interesting part, is that you're probably not even thinking of the great question, right? Because there may be something
Correct. I lose sleep over that, yes.
Now, I know you're an avowed atheist. How can you be so certain that there is no supernatural, godlike entity out there, given that we know so little?
Well, first, I don't count myself among the ranks of avowed atheists. And I'll give a fast example why. A friend of mine went up to fix the Hubble telescope, okay, on the space shuttle. And on my Facebook feed, I said, Godspeed to the space shuttle astronauts. And then in the comment thread, it said, I thought you were an atheist. How could you possibly say that? And so the fact that I gleefully said that and atheists complained about it, clearly I'm not an atheist. Okay?
What are you?
My favorite Broadway musical of all time is Jesus Christ Superstar, which I saw in real time in New York City. I don't know that atheists can, so I don't.
So is there a God then, Neil deGrasse Tyson? I'll be about to have breaking news.
I don't know.
Is there a God?
Okay, so I will tell you is that there are a lot of unknowns in the universe, but just because there are unknowns does not mean there's a deity in the unknown. If you're going to assign a deity to that which... It doesn't mean there isn't, that's correct.
So you're more of an open mind about this, right?
Everyone should. If the unknown is the unknown. But the track record of people saying God is behind this, and then you add a little science to it and you find out, no, we can completely explain it and control it, then the history of that exercise is so rich with science discovering the unknowns that were previously ascribed to deity, like lightning bolts and weather systems. There was Poseidon, there was Zeus, just look at the history of this. I'm not given reason to say, we're gonna find something, God is gonna be at the center of that, and there'll be no science to apply. I'm gonna look for the science first, because that's how the history of this exercise has unfolded.
Okay, friends, you heard it. All right, this was the discussion here. Neil deGrasse Tyson did an excellent job explaining creation, what's happening in the galaxies, in the universe, things that are beyond our understanding. And he admitted that we have somewhat 4% knowledge of what's out there. So we have 96, according to him, that we have yet to discover. So our ignorance is deepening as well as our knowledge. I found that to be very interesting. First of all, he did disavow the claim that I'm an atheist. He's more of a skeptic or agnostic. He's somewhere in the middle trying to find a way, if I will say. This is a person you pray for. This is a person you let the Lord work in his heart. Here's the amazing thing about people like Neil deGrasse Tyson. The more they look at the evidence, the more blown away they are at the creation account. And yet they give credit to evolution, which I cannot understand. For the most part, it seems a lot of biologists, astrophysicists, a lot of evolutionists as well. The more they study the fossils, the evidence in the earth, the more they dig, is the more God is shouting. And what's amazing is the fact that they're not hearing his voice. You know, it does make you wonder, like, what's going on here? I think one in particular may be perspective, and perspective in which that seeing the evidence through creation for some is not enough. The second thing here I think is going on is the condition of the heart. If a man does not see his need for salvation, no matter how much evidence he sees in the creation account, I don't think it will be enough for him. Although God can use that, and he used that to speak to pagans, he uses that to speak to a lot of people. There's a lot of people who have never heard the gospel through nature. Nature is, as I will say, is the body language of God. Nature has a way of communicating God's message without overwhelming ones. But when you examine carefully what's going on here, there is a denial of reality. There is a level of ignorance. There is also this concept of having so much knowledge and not the knowledge of truth, the knowledge of God, the wisdom of God. So there is the lack of fear of God. And I find that to be very interesting, is that it's not enough to know about God, right? You need to know God. It's much more than that. So nature can help, but a person has to see their need for him. It's like if you don't see your need for the Lord, you can study as hard as you want, like Neil deGrasse Tyson and many others, you will fall in a line of skepticism and atheist evolutionist perspective. In Psalm 19, the Bible says the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. We can say so much right now. I want you to think about what is being said here. When you look at the heavens, it's making a declaration. It's speaking about the glory of God. When you look at the firmament, it shows God's handiwork. It's not done. Day unto day uttereth speech, night unto night showeth knowledge. So when you look at that, there is such an eccentric knowledge in the creation account. It's supposed to speak to you of the Creator's work. It's supposed to. The Bible said there is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. That's amazing. No matter where you're from, where you are, God reveals himself to you in so many different ways. Now the question is that, can you actually hear his voice? Their line is going out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them have he set a tabernacle for the sun. This is beautiful. So even in nature speaks their words to the end of the world. So we don't have a lack of evidence. For my atheist friends who comes to our channel and comment, I've said this before, evidence will not convince a man of his need for God. The man needs to see his need for God despite the evidence. The evidence can assist him along the way, but the evidence cannot convict the heart to come all the way. He needs to see his need as a sinful man. Men like Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't need any more argument. This is a man that needs to see the true condition of his sinful heart. This is a man that you have to open the law of God to his conscience. This is a man that needs to be told you are a sinner and you're in need of salvation. Repent or you will be destroyed. That's a loving message that needs to be given to folks who are so overwhelmed with evidence and yet they are still skeptics. Reason for it is they do not see their need. And as long as an individual does not see his need, he doesn't realize his condition, he has no idea of the destiny where he is headed to a burning end. Unless he turns, he will burn. That man will never change. It's one of those things that God has to penetrate the heart with the truth by making us uncomfortable. And men like Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of those individuals, and I know many others who might be watching. You may fall in that class as well, that arguing with men like this won't help them. They need a new nature. They need to see their condition. They need a new heart. So it's going to take somebody who has the guts to say, it's more than evidence. It's more than creation. It's more than look what is in the fossils. Look at the stars. It's more than that, friends. Look at your heart. Look at the condition of your soul. Where are you headed? What is your final destination? When it's all said and done, are you saved or are you lost? That's the question that needs to be answered. And if you can actually find what the answers are to these questions, I will meet you at the end of the road, holding on to Jesus' hands, because you will realize he is the solution. He is the answer to all of these questions. Anyway, friends, much more could be said. Link in the description below. Like and subscribe to the page. Click the bell icon for more. Thank you so much for listening. Comment below. Share your thought and perspective with me. Have a good one. Bye.